Welcome to the channel. This video is the ultimate player's guide to Octane in Apex Legends. Octane is arguably one of the most fun legends to play in all of Apex. If you enjoy speed, aggression, and movement, then this is the perfect legend for you. Octane is an exceptional legend at all ranks and level of play. You can utilize Octane in low-level lobbies or even Master and Predator lobbies to win games with speed and aggression. I highly recommend, if you have not unlocked Octane, this might be the first legend that you need to unlock in the game. First off, we will quickly cover Octane's abilities, and then I'm going to get into intricate details and tips that will have you dominating with this legend in no time. Now, right before we hop into the guide, I would greatly appreciate it if you dropped a like on the video, and if you're interested in improving at Apex, make sure to subscribe to the channel. My focus is going to get you better at Apex Legends and get you on that championship banner. Drop a sub, join the Bears Den, and let's get into this ultimate Octane guide. Now, timestamps will be provided throughout the video, so if you do want to skip ahead to specific tips regarding Octane's kit, then feel free to find the section you're looking for. We are now just going to quickly go over some details regarding his abilities. Octane is an offensive legend, and his passive is called Swift Mend, where he will restore his HP 1 health per second after avoiding damage for 6 seconds. Octane's tactical ability is called Stim, where he has increased walk speed by 30% and his sprint speed by 40% for 6 seconds. Each stim use costs 20 health to use, but if you have less than 20 health, Octane will be left with 1 HP. Octane Stim also removes all slow effects, meaning if you get hit with abilities or grenades intended to slow you, such as a Watson fence, you can immediately stim to gain your increased movement speed. Finally, we have Octane's ultimate ability, the Launch Pad. With this ability, Octane deploys a pad that launches players through the air, and this pad also grants you a double jump as well. The charge time for the pad is 1.5 minutes. The pad has 200 HP, and Octane is allowed to have a maximum of 4 jump pads on the map at one time. Now that we have all of Octane's abilities covered, let's go over some tips that you probably didn't even realize that Octane can abuse to help him win more engagements. Now, there aren't very many tips to Octane's passive because it's so basic and straightforward with health, but one major takeaway with Octane's passive is that this legend can help disperse more health heals to your entire team. Since Octane gradually restores his health over time, you can make sure that your teammates get priority with medkits, and you can free up backpack space in general if you feel like you don't need as many health heals. Also, because of Octane's passive regeneration on health, he is probably the best legend to take the gold armor because he's able to utilize a syringe to heal much of his HP, and then his passive ability can quickly finish off the rest. Now, I know this isn't a part of the main game either, but the passive ability is also a nice bonus when you play game modes like Control or any game mode where your shields recharge. While you have downtime in game modes like Control, you won't have to manually heal your HP, and your shields will come back over time, which is nice. Now, getting into our tactical tips for the video, I highly recommend that you go into your settings and disable FOV ability scaling. When you first launch the game, your FOV ability scaling will cause Octane's FOV to increase whenever he stims. This enlarges your screen, but in turn will ultimately change your sensitivity with your aim. You don't want to be used to shooting and fighting at, say, 100 base FOV and then stim and have to try to adjust to 110 or so on. So make sure the setting is turned off. A hidden secret tip that many Octane mains do not know is the hip fire buff while stimming. Here's my hip fire with Octane without stimming, but if I stim and then hip fire, you can see a tighter hip fire spread. This means that you should utilize weapons that are up close and highly effective with their hip fire in order to get into people's faces for quick kills. When pushing enemies, pop your stim to gain increased movement and hip fire while strafing like a madman with increased speed. That brings me into my next tip with Octane, and a lot of Octane mains out there are guilty of overstimming. When you stim too much, you're actually negatively affecting your outcome with the fight, so as a rule of thumb, I try to not stim more than twice in a single fight, but ultimately managing this ability requires game sense and knowledge for each different scenario. Keep your stim at the ready when rotating throughout the map, or use your stim to maybe catch up to your teammates, but you usually want to be full HP when starting into a fight so you can stim to reach a position that you and your enemy are fighting to take over. Here's an example where I hold my stim until the perfect moment to reach an advantageous position. I'm able to take some shots and do major damage, and then I can hold my stim for that final push to wipe the team. Another tip that I have regarding Octane's tactical is that you do not go further if you stim when you take your jump pad. I feel like a lot of Octane mains have the misconception that if you stim and take the pad, then you go further. When you do this, you're basically just taking a free 20 damage to your health, since you're gonna have increased movement speed off the pad already. Another tip that you can perform with Octane is the free stim. While taking a Phoenix kit or a med kit, you're able to stim right before the healing item finishes so that you get a free boost of speed and that the healing item takes full effect. Guys, if you're still here and watching the video, thank you so much. I would really appreciate it if you would drop a like on the video. And now let's get right back into all these Octane tips. At the start of Apex Legends, bunny hop healing was a big deal, and a lot of the time was the determining factor with winning or losing fights. This has been nerfed, however, but Octane can utilize his speed boost while healing and moving down some slopes to continue momentum for heals, unlike other legends. If you get caught in a Bangalore Ultimate, Caustic Gas, Gibby Bombardment, Watson Fent, or take slow damage from things like Arc Stars, make sure to utilize Octane's stim to regain your speed immediately so you can retreat or move to a safe position. Also, just a side note, Octane does not gain more speed from Maggie's ultimate, but there is a cool thing you can do is you can throw Maggie's ultimate off an Octane jump pad, and then you can have increased speed as soon as you land on those Maggie sensors to increase your speed that way. Finally, I kind of touched on it earlier, but Octane is a highly aggressive legend, so you 100% want to be in people's faces. To win more fights, it's honestly worth taking the 20 damage to your HP in order to have an insane strafe speed up close. Work on stimming to close the gap, and then you'll want to be in someone's face for a 1v1. The speed will last 6 seconds, so utilize that extra speed to be difficult to hit, and work on your shots while you're moving at increased speeds. Now let's move into some specific details and tips for Octane's jump pad. For basics, if you crouch while you take the pad, you will travel further horizontally, and if you do not slide or crouch into the pad, you will have a higher but shorter trajectory. Some players might not know this, but if you punch and take the pad at the same time, you will go straight in the air. This might not be the most useful tip, but you could use it to scout areas, or you could travel higher in the air to maybe take a building or a ledge, or heck, you can even just troll on some enemies by just jumping and bouncing straight up into the air while they're laying there on the ground just looking at you. While you're playing Octane, you want to hold your pad for the right time. Don't just throw your pad for convenience to traverse the map. There could be times where unexpected enemies ambush you and you'll need to utilize your pad to allow your entire team to retreat. The most effective way to use the jump pad is to push damaged enemies that are trying to heal. Don't try and just immediately jump pad to height or towards enemies if they have easy line of sight. Try and focus on getting some big damage on a few enemies, then they'll turtle up to heal, and then you can use the pad to gain more control of the fight by gaining space and taking additional angles. If you're ever being chased as an Octane and you need to utilize the pad to get away, you can also throw a thermite on the pad to burn it, and while you take the pad to get away, you can turn around and shoot the pad to finish off its 200 HP to prevent enemies from taking it towards you. There's also a trick to throw the jump pad down while enemies are trying to block doors. You need to get this placement right because sometimes the door will actually destroy the pad, but if you get it in the right location, it'll bounce the enemy back off the door and you can push in for free. You can also ceiling glide, which is a fun movement capability that the pad grants to your team. If an area has a lower ceiling, like underneath Energy Depot and you're low on HP, you can basically surf on top of the ceiling with increased speed off the pad to get away. Other tips with the pad include tap strafing, which is incredibly useful if you're able to tap strafe on PC. You can even do 180-degree turns off the pad in order to change direction if you see in midair that it's not safe to travel to that forward direction. In order to tap strafe somewhat off the pad on controller and on console, all you have to do is hold the direction that you want to travel, then right before you're about to jump, just swing your camera in that direction quickly as well. The timing can be difficult, but if you practice practice it enough on console with controller, you'll be strafing off the pad in no time. Other useful tips with the jump pad include blocking doorways to prevent enemies from pushing you, and jump padding down teammates in order to try to go for the res. Finally, let's talk Octane loadouts and fighting style. Octane excels at close range combat, so I highly recommend utilizing an SMG or a shotgun in your loadout. Maybe pair an assault rifle with an SMG or a shotgun, that way you can dish out damage at mid range and then close the distance and finish players with the shotgun. Octane is not really a legend to be utilizing weapons like the charge rifle. Give that thing to other legends like Gibraltar that are in the back of the team and playing as the anchor. Utilize Octane to scout locations and play in the front of the team, and make sure you're using his pad for rotations to quickly get into prime locations for endgame. The pad can also grant your whole team access to win fights with height, and you can always shoot your pad out from up top in order to prevent any enemies from taking it. Octane works well with a lot of various legends because all legends can benefit from Octane's launchpad to gain speed and ground. Try pairing Octane with other aggressive legends like Bloodhound, Pathfinder, Horizon, and then you can completely swarm enemies from various angles. Alright guys, that's my ultimate Octane guide. I hope it helped you to learn a couple things to help you with your gameplay, and if it did, make sure you drop a like and subscribe. Alright Speed Demons, I'll see you in the next video. I'm Grizzy, and I'm out. Peace.